Hi everyone, my name is Janelle. I'm a functional nutritionist who lives and plays in the Sierra Mountains, and this is my podcast where we talk about functional health at midlife with a mountain twist. I hope this podcast helps you understand your body better and learn ways to improve how you feel and function after 40. Today I'm talking with my friend Deepa Kannan. Deepa is an Ayurvedic practitioner, a functional medicine practitioner, author, and yogini. Her book, How to Sleep Better, the miraculous 10-step protocol to recharge your mind and body, is brilliant, and the foreword is even written by Dr. Mark Hyman. I learned a new and refreshing way to think about midlife changes today, and I will definitely be including some of these Ayurvedic tricks to sleep better, calm my nervous system, and rejuvenate. Well, welcome everybody and welcome Deepa. I am so happy to have you here. You and I have been colleagues through the Functional Nutrition Alliance for several years, and we have been trying to schedule a talk for a while. So I'm so happy we're making it happen and to have you here. So thank you for being here.
It's a pleasure, Janelle, and absolutely, I think it's a long overdue meet.
Yes, so long overdue. You have a podcast, Deepa. It's called The Sleep Whisperer, and you have recently published a book called How to Sleep Better. These are both incredible offerings and resources for the world. You have so much wisdom to share with us. So I can't wait to dig into the topic of sleep. And most of the women that I work with are doing a lot right health wise, but regardless, I find sleep becomes wobbly at midlife for so many of them. And when we are not sleeping, as you know, it is miserable. So I would love to start off by maybe just talking about some reasons that sleep does get wobbly in midlife. Can we talk about that?
Yeah, absolutely. And my area is always to bring in the science and the Ayurveda. So I'll talk about both those perspectives. So I'll come first at the Ayurvedic perspective. So if your audience is familiar with the doshas, Ayurveda has the concept of three energies, Vata, Pitta, Kapha. Vata represents air and space. Pitta represents fire and water, and Kapha represents earth and water. And we'll bring these elements in a little later. So when we look at these doshas, all of us have all three doshas, but in different combinations. That decides our body tendency, emotional temperament. That's called prakriti, or body constitution. We also have something called vikriti, which is a present state of imbalance, which means I could be a certain body constitution, but today, based upon what's happening around me, certain doshas could be imbalanced. So this is perpetually changing. So we're always in a different state of imbalance. Now, when we look at these doshas, the concept is that we also have these doshas predominantly influencing us based upon the stage of our life. So kapha, as I mentioned, is earth and water. So it's about building. Kapha age is from the time we are born till the time girls attain puberty. So that's where the body is growing. We are reaching our adult size. So that's a growth phase. Pitta's age is an age of heat, which is from the time we have our first period to the time we go into menopause. So it's the ability to use that heat. It's a fertile stage. We're building hormones. We have the ability to procreate and have babies. And so it's the fertile years. But Vata's age, which is air and space, Vata's age is menopause and post-menopause. So the idea is that we're like a dried fruit in Vata's age, which means we are losing our moistness and we are becoming shriveled up. We are losing the unctuousness in our body. So Vata's qualities of dryness start to play. Now, if you were to juxtapose this on side by side with science, we know that science tells us when we are going into menopause, we are starting to decline in hormones. So the estrogen drop causes the dry vagina, the dry skin, and this is all Vata's age. So Janelle, it's very beautifully described in Ayurveda. So, Vata's dryness gives us this dry vagina, dry skin, dry hair, mood issues, anxiety, sleeplessness, everything related to the quality of air. Why do we not sleep in that time? Is Vata's element is air. So, this high air elements makes us feel not grounded. We
Mhm.
don't feel earthed, we don't feel stable, and therefore we're not able to fall asleep. Sleep requires earth, it requires grounding, it requires stability, a balance in our nervous system. So when we see, really the two worlds are saying the exact same thing, that we're starting to weaken in digestion. We have a tendency towards being more in fight or flight, higher anxiety. We're not able to produce hormones effectively. However, the only difference, Janelle, is that Ayurveda never had the concept of bioidentical hormone replacement therapy. So the idea was that if you take care of your digestion, if you use practices to calm down vata dosha, that you can absolutely move very gracefully into the post-menopausal years. And this doesn't mean I'm anti hormone replacement therapy at all. What I'm telling you is, even if somebody wants to go down that road, there's a lot that you can do as adjunct to support the body in maintaining, preserving that unctuousness, that moistness. There's so much in Ayurveda to take care of our vaginal tract, prevent vaginal atrophy. And it's remarkable, and I'm wishing somebody does go down this road of research. Channel is that, in the book I've written so much about hormones and using practices to take care of the hormones. So I've seen correlation between caring for our hormones through an Ayurvedic perspective, keep preserving that unctuousness and better sleep. Sadly, there's no research to correlate many of these today, but I'm hoping that we eventually come towards that.
Okay, so you've already kind of blown my mind because I actually didn't know the different life phases were associated with those doshas. So, as you know, I used to practice Ayurveda and yoga therapy, and I am super vata. I am like the definition of vata. and and so I can't believe that now I know, because I am in late perimenopause. I am almost crossing over to menopause here. And I get that now. It feels so vata. And so coming from being a vata person, and yes, just what you said, that makes so much sense. The anxiousness, the dryness, the wobbly sleep, all of this stuff. So I'm just picturing in my mind now, okay, this says such clarity to me, and I want you to explain it for everybody else, how we can soothe the vata, how we can bring that vata back into balance. And you said groundedness. I feel like I'm so up in the air and like anxious and crazy for no reason. And I tell my friends all the time, I just feel ungrounded. Like I just really have like focused on what grounds me, what settles me, what calms me. So this makes so much sense. I love it through this perspective. And I was hoping this would happen, but I didn't know it'd be the first thing you said. So knowing that, and even if people have no idea what vata and kapha and pitta are, we're talking about bringing the body back into balance. And so, what are the things Ayurvedically, or, you also practice functional nutrition, either way, that you see we can balance vata during this time so we do feel more grounded and juicy and full of the nectar of life that you're talking about, so we can age gracefully and balance ourselves during this time?
I love that word juicy, Janelle. And I think that really encapsulates all of what is not vata. So, just to clarify one more thing, Janelle, that, when you said you are predominantly vata and this vata age, the other thing to consider, that the ancient seers also said that Ayurveda has to evolve with the times, that they couldn't predict what was coming up. So we need to always apply principles and frameworks and adapt to supporting ourselves based upon how we are changing all around us. And one thing to note is that why people are seeing so many vata aggravated patients today everywhere is that we're starting to live in a vata provoking age with the
Mm.
stimulation. So just to keep in mind that, pitta dosha is supposed to take care of our eyes, but the movement in our eyes is controlled by vata, and the eyes are the doorway to the nervous system. So
Mm.
even we are scrolling on social media rapidly and eyes are moving really quickly, we are using that movement of the eyes to instantly create imbalance in vata or the
Mm.
nervous system. So we're all vata aggravated. So there's a saying in Ayurveda that to be healthy, make vata your friend. And we really need to do that, because vata is also the dosha that then pushes the other doshas off balance. So if vata goes off balance, it can drive everything to imbalance. And the easiest way, and why I'm saying this is because you spoke about a pertinent point, that even if somebody doesn't know their constitution or the doshas, absolutely fine. We can all do with calming vata, which is really all about calming down our nervous system. So the biggest way that you do that is, I feel the number one is to be intentional about social scrolling and not to allow ourselves to be sucked into that abyss, which is what it does. And we know that research is showing that the dopamine spike fuels that behavior. So really none of us are in control. So I really like to put timings and say that I will only be on this from this time to this time. I think that's the biggest. However, how do we preserve the moistness? Think about a dried fruit. For example, if you look at a dried prune, so what do we do to a prune if we want it, if we want to bring back the unctuousness of a plum? We soak it in water and we restore that hydration and we rehydrate that dried fruit. So we have to think about that analogy when we're looking at how do we restore balance to our body. So first of all, hydration. Vata makes everything dry, and hydration is very important. However, cold water will further aggravate vata because it shrinks the blood vessels. So warmth is great. And if we were to add something to that warm water which we drink, excellent. So something which is warming. I love ginger tea. You could also use dry ginger powder, but a very tiny pinch. So when using dry ginger powder in water, it's very vata calming because it's internally warm, but overdoing it will aggravate pitta or histamine and lead you into imbalance. So really want to retain the warmth. The moment we restore warmth to our body, everything works better. And then how can we bring unctuousness from outside and inside? So from outside, Ayurveda describes bringing oil from every orifice in the body. So which means we've got a nasya oil for the nose, which can go through the blood-brain barrier. So if somebody is prone to depression or sinus, using a nasya oil is so powerful because it keeps the lymphatic system circulating well. Then we've got Abhyanga, self-massage. So if we do oil Abhyanga, and I'm happy to give your audience our Abhyanga masterclass discount code. So you just learn to do self-massage, but using the right oil. So the masterclass talks about how to pick the oils. So preserving this unctuousness, and Janelle, if you were to combine oil abhyanga with yoga nidra, it's a powerful practice. So what I suggest to women is to put down a plastic sheet or an old shower curtain on the ground. And then after you apply warm oil, lie down on your back and play a guided yoga nidra. Why this helps is this large surface of the back of our body is on the ground. And when vata is high, if you really bring attention, you'll notice that you don't feel the ground beneath your body because there's so much of the air element. But through the hour of being in yoga nidra, you'll start to feel that change. And that the earth is so transformational. So doing yoga nidra and abhyanga together is really good to calm down vata, especially if it's done in the vata time of the day, which is 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. So sometime before dinner. And then how do we preserve the unctuousness inside our body? We definitely don't want to do low fat diets. So we have to bring in a lot of the healthy fats. Ghee is just transformational for vata. So even if somebody is not consuming dairy, most often you'll find you can tolerate ghee because how ghee is prepared, it changes everything, that most people tolerate ghee. So ghee is wonderful, but anything that is not airy or dry. So we don't want dry, crunchy foods. We want warm, soft foods. Anything that is not rough and cold. So, which is why somebody with a lot of vata will do better to have cooked greens versus raw greens. And that doesn't mean wilting it and making it really lose nutrients. So it's more like literally taking your spinach and sauteing it for 1 minute. So you're still keeping the color, but you're just changing the texture from cold and rough to warm and more soothing. And there are so many practices. So vaginal atrophy in menopause is a very real thing, Jana. The vata age of menopause is where we can have vaginal atrophy because everything's thinning in the vaginal tissue. It can also very quickly lead into urinary infections because it's so delicate that tissue is no longer plump. It's a little more weak and thin. So what can we do? We don't always need estrogen creams. Absolutely. I saw somebody had posted a few days ago and the wonders of estrogen cream, but there's so many. You can just take ghee in your kitchen and use it in a cotton tampon and leave it in the vagina. So warm the ghee and soak the tampon until it's plump with warm ghee, and then you lie down and apply that into the vaginal tract, and just a couple of hours your vaginal tissue will soak up the fat and you'll start feeling an immense sense of zen and calmness, and then you just discard the tampon. So there's so much we can do to preserve that unctuousness. It's not always that it has to be hormone based products. There's so much right in our kitchen which we can use: black sesame oil, ghee, but we just want to be sure that it's warm. So very slight warm, not hot where it burns the tissue, but enough for to dilate the blood vessels and get circulation going. And I don't think there's anything as powerful for a menopausal woman as using warm ghee or black sesame oil in the vaginal tract as often as possible. And I think that's a great way to also stay calm, and it calms down vata. Remember, vata's home is in the colon, which means when vata becomes high, it starts to first increase in the colon. So you'll have constipation, dry colon. From there, if you allow it to aggravate, it will go everywhere. That's when it becomes joint pain, arthritis, osteoporosis, anxiety, sleeplessness. So taking care of calming vata in the pelvis where the colon is, be it through the vaginal tract or in the colon itself, you can make a world of difference. And when I said vata's home is in the colon channel, so things like coffee enemas too often will strip and make the colon lose its unctuousness. So we don't want to do things. Usually in Ayurveda, the concept of enemas is where you put things in like herbs and oils, not where you strip away. So while those strong detox practices can help, you have to be a bit cautious with them in the vata time, especially because you're very quickly losing that unctuousness. So just think, imagine you were prune and you are soaking yourself in ghee and bringing that moisture back. So you're trying to do that outside the body, inside the body.
This is amazing. So you gave us so many great things to do there. Really quick, I wanted to ask you, so the black sesame oil, you're saying you use that vaginally the same way you described with the ghee?
Yes.
Okay, okay, that is awesome to know. Um, and and this is so interesting. I just want to tie everything back also because we're kind of you're talking about all of these great ways to soothe vata, but we started talking about sleep. But the cool thing is that when you soothe vata, when you calm vata, when you moisturize vata, when you bring vata in balance, that is going to help us sleep better.
Oh, totally, yeah. So in Ayurveda, if you look at sleep disruption, 80-90% of sleep challenges are caused by excess vata. And then, of course, there
Oh.
are other aspects. Kapha's excess can cause sleep apnea because it closes the airway. Pitta can also cause sleep challenges in menopause because high pitta can cause hot flashes. So,
Mm,
calming pitta can also help. But for sure, when you calm vata, everything else starts to calm down. So, it's the best way to enter good health for anybody. If you're not sure of your body constitution, you always begin by calming vata. It's the easiest thing to do. In general, just to clarify, when we say excess vata, we're talking from a science perspective of being predominantly fight or flight. We're also talking about what functional medicine would call adrenal wired and tired, or a hyperadrenal function, so where the adrenal is balanced. So all of this falls under vata. So for sure that finishing eating before sunset, anything that you do to support good digestion will equal
mm,
balanced vata, because
mhm,
vata and agni have a very close relationship.
mhm. Okay, that makes sense. So by doing anything to support digestion, we are nourishing and balancing that vata, which is really good to do at this time in life. And just I just want to go through and just say the things you already said, just to double click on them because they were so awesome and important. The first thing you said, so big, social scrolling, having boundaries. I love what you said about having a specific time. This is when I can be on here because I even know it's bad for you, but man, you can get lost in it, can't you? I mean, and I can feel
Yes.
it just making my nervous system crazy. Number two, you said moistness and hydration. I love that visual of the dried fruit, warm water, no dry foods, ginger tea. I'm going to start drinking that one more often. And then the oils, you can put the oils in your nose. I love Abhyanga. I used to give Abhyanga to people. I think I was actually sometimes just as relaxed as they were just by giving it, the rhythmicness of it. And you said
Yes.
you had a coupon for us if anyone's interested
Yes.
in your course on Abhyanga. I love that. But even if you just, I just sometimes have people rub oil on their body. I find it so grounding and soothing. That one really works for me. Um, and then you said healthy fats. So moisturizing from the inside, getting all those yummy healthy fats, olive oil and olives and coconut and avocado, all of that. Um, and then you said the moisturizing in the vaginal canal. So with that saturated cotton tampon in either ghee, warmed ghee, or black sesame oil. I mean, those are so many wonderful things that you just don't normally hear of because you're thinking about this sleep issue in such a different way through your Ayurvedic lens, which I really appreciate because that's
Yeah.
those are old traditions. People have
I
been doing
think
that.
though we didn't say sleep journal, I will tell you that for sure, as I said, there's no research to back it, but try it for yourself. Let your listeners try it for themselves. That if you just do this for a couple of hours before you go to bed, the cotton tampon with some warm fat, and lie down, maybe you're just sitting with your partner or you're just watching something, and then you remove the tampon, discard it, and go to sleep, I will tell you, you will not hear a peep out of your body for the next several hours. It is such deep sleep. And there's just something about calming down, and you can absolutely, in Ayurveda, it's not that a dry vagina has nothing to do with anxiety. So the more we allow passages in our body to dry up, whether it's the colon with perpetuating constipation, whether it's the vaginal tract with the post-menopause estrogen declining atrophy, anywhere where we allow ourselves to lose the unctuousness. Without fats, our nervous system can't function, because it's the fat that goes through the cell walls. It's what nourishes the nerves. So without that, we are setting ourselves up for high anxiety and poor sleep. So absolutely, they're all interconnected. So if you ask me, women can prevent mental health challenges just by keeping their vagina nourished with fats. It's such, I mean, it's not a connection we think about. Where is the vagina and where's anxiety? But I will just say, let your listeners try it for a month. You'll see that if you're prone to anxiety, without you realizing, it starts to calm down, because you're just giving fats through tissue that can easily soak up fats.
And then you mentioned earlier, which I'm going to try doing it with yoga nidra
Yes,
also.
the Abhyanga with the Yoga Nidra.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
for
And then what if
sure.
you combined that with
Yeah,
the,
as also. So,
yeah.
that's something I do as well, where you lie down, you do Abhyanga, you insert the cotton tampon, and you play Yoga Nidra. It's just a
Okay.
win-win all over.
I'm doing that. And I know on your podcast, I remember you do a yoga nidra on there, right? A before sleep.
Short ones,
A short
short
one.
ones.
Okay.
Yes,
Well, people can find those online, but also on your podcast. I remember I did a couple of them. They were really good. So
yes.
I like those. Okay, this has been amazing so far. I had so many other things I wanted to talk about, but I'm way happier with what we discussed. So thank you so much for sharing so many tips and different ways to think about midlife sleep and midlife anxiety and really soothing and grounding our vada. So, anything else you want to say before we sign off, Deepa?
I think that just that, it's very easy for women to go in both directions, that hormones are such a big part of our body and our mind. And when they are not in balance, we know that, how we're showing up in relationships is different. We're coming at it with a lot of panic within ourselves. Maybe we are overreading into things. So really, it begins by taking care of yourself. And I will reiterate the words of one of our old family friends when I had a baby, and she said to me, if I'll give you one advice, follow it. Right through taking care of your baby is always eat before you feed your baby. And I think that goes a long way. Even if you were to think about menopause, that always take care of yourself first. Only then can you show up at work, can you show up in your relationships. But I just want to say that when we are in balance, everything is in balance. So I think we absolutely have better vision, we absolutely do better things in the world. So we need to start with us taking care of every part of our body, and just realizing how utterly beautiful every part of our body is.
I love that. That is a great way to end. And I think when we do that, the goal is to get through that wobbly time and emerge as our wise selves, that we can come into the world and really live the second half of our life to our fullest, feeling our best and at peace and at balance. So I love all of your advice. People can find you online, right? What's your website? Do you have a website you can share with us?
Yes, it's ohahealth.com, OHAHEALTH, ohahealth.com, and the same name on Instagram, and uh, Deepa Kannan on LinkedIn and the other places.
Okay, I'll share those links with everyone. And your book, can you tell us the name of that and where they can find that?
It's available on Amazon all over the world and any bookstore. So it's How to Sleep Better, the Miraculous 10-Step Protocol to Recharge Your Mind and Body. It's by HarperCollins. And let me just quickly show you the beautiful cover,
I
which
love it.
I
It's
absolutely
gorgeous.
fell in love with. Yeah, so it's available all over the world. And Probably in 2025 with different translations as well.
Great. Well, thanks for being here, Deepa, and thanks for sharing so much wisdom with us. And I hope we get to do this again sooner than later.
Yes, it was an utter pleasure, Janelle. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you.
That's it for this week. If you enjoyed this podcast, please leave a comment and review, as that helps more people find out about it. You can find me and the courses I teach at mountainrebalance.com and on Instagram. If there's a topic you want to hear about, please reach out and let me know.